just as soon like be able to control as many things as I can, and it makes my life a lot easier.
And what if it was the team that you had at the Invitational this year in Australia? Like a super team.
Still like herding cats, or
it sort of is. I mean, you know what's funny is we talk about that at the Invitational, that we have to try really hard to not compete against each other, because like for something as simple and like as stupid as it sounds, you're like, say I think the first event this year we had like the rope climbs onto the ergs onto whatever, and like we're like racing each other on the ergs when we don't need to be, right? And you're just so used to that environment and being like, oh, nice, I finished the rope climbs before that pair did. Like, fuck yeah. And like, it doesn't actually matter. Like, you're working with them, and maybe doing that's going to cause problems down the road. So you have to really consciously step back and be like, hey, no, we're not competing against each other. And a couple times in training, like Brent and I got caught doing that with each other, and it was just like we'd look back afterwards, and it was like a synchro event that we had approached completely wrong because we were like trying to out hustle each other, and it was like, dude, we both looked at each other, we're like, that was really stupid. Like, yeah, we both like, how would you have done that if you did it by yourself? Like this way. It's like, yeah, same with me. I don't know why we didn't do that.
That's
but
funny.
Anyway, so yeah, those teams would be super fun. It's also a very different approach to competition in team in terms of like energy systems, various things like that. So I do like a little bit the way the invitation or the individual competition offers more in terms of like long-term modality or like time frames and things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas team is, in the past at least, has been a lot more kind of interval style work or very like quick bursts, and then you get to rest. So I don't know, maybe. I mean, like I said, with right team, it would be super fun. And when I was done with individual, maybe, because I'm not going to have the time to focus on it forever.
Yeah.
And but it would have to be a good squad. And I think I've talked to people about this before, about how maybe when I finish competing, how I'm going to be able to tolerate my like reduction in fitness level and capacity.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to be an easy thing to deal with, to be able to like let's say as simple as you look at your benchmark scores and your benchmarks are steadily going down now instead of steadily going up. Like, so
is that
when you take a step back,
to Michelle about? Because it's obviously something that she's going through now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think some people, and I mean, hopefully when you finish competition, that's just the stage of your life that you're okay with that. And I know she's perfectly okay with that, and it's not focused at all anymore. And it's awesome. I love her for that. She's just like, she did her thing and did it awesome. And then now that it's time to move on to something else, she's fully turned the page, and it's cool to see. But I don't know if I have that same personality. So it might be tough to, when I'm done competing, like maybe I just need to be done competing. But we'll see. Like, I think that's sort of a bridge you have to cross when you get there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's hard to know how you're going to react to those sorts of things. And like I said, if you end up involved with a gym that's got the right people around, it could be super fun.
Yeah, cool.
I don't think I would look to like move to another location to be involved in a super team, though. I don't think I'm ever going to move cities for CrossFit. Like, that's not my jam.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's cool to see that you've got things outside of CrossFit. Like, it's obviously very consuming for everyone who does CrossFit, whether you're an incredibly like competitive athlete like yourself, or I feel like even just people in the regular gyms, like people really get consumed by it, and they love it because it's something that's healthy and it's fun for them, and they've got the community there. But it's cool to see there's not your be all end all. Like, you've got school, you've got those things to lean on.
For sure. And you know what? I see the other side of it too when I have people that I go to school with who have all their chips in at school, and it's just like they make themselves crazy, and they kind of, you sort of get stuck in this vortex of like stress and anxiety because you only have that one thing. So I think that it's really healthy to have kind of multiple different things that you can focus on in your life, and you can take a step away from one thing and focus on another for a short period of time. So generally, like, that's not even on a larger scale. That's how I break up my days. Like, I'll study for a few hours, go to class, go to the gym for a bit, go back to class for a bit. Like, and it keeps me operating at a pretty high efficiency because I don't get tired of what I'm doing. Whereas like if I was doing only one thing, like let's say I only could study for like 8 hours a day, it'd be mind numbing. Like you at a certain point, you just can't do it anymore. But then you feel guilty that you're not doing it because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Whereas like if you have multiple things, I can say like, after 2 hours, I'm getting a little tired of studying. I've been reading the same lines and not really getting it. So, I'll just go to the gym for 2 hours, put some work in, come back, and I can attack the schoolwork more fresh again. And you sort of like, it revitalizes you a little bit. You've been able to put your focus somewhere else, and then you can just sort of flip flop back and forth. And whether it's that or it's something else, some other hobby you might have, I just think it's nice to be able to diversify your time.
Yeah,
definitely.
It keeps you, I think it just keeps you sane. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how people do it otherwise.
And probably more productive, right? Like after you've done some exercise, you come back and you're able to hit it harder. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely find that. And I understand fully that people are not the same, and it's what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. And like, that's totally okay. But that's my personal experience, is that I find I can really maximize my day and operate at high efficiency in everything I'm doing if I do that. If I don't spend more than 2 hours doing one thing, because like any more than that, 2-3 hours, and I start to just be sluggish and lazy and unfocused. And so anyway, it's just like, that's something that I've experienced personally. So
it's almost like a little study hack. It's awesome. It works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think at a certain point, like I've been in school forever. Like I hope how I operate best at this point. And I think that's just what comes with time and experience. You just sort of figure out what works for you and just do it. Like there's no shame in doing it your own way. Like I think that sometimes people feel pushed to do, like whether it's say in school, like people feel pushed to like be in the library for 6 hours a day because other people are doing that. Or like same for CrossFit. There's people who are just living in the gym, putting crazy hours in, doing all kinds of volume, and like, so they feel pressured to do it that way if you want to be successful. But there's a lot of roads that lead to success, and it's not necessarily the same for everybody. So if you find something that works for you, don't abandon it because somebody else said or did something different and was successful. Like it makes no sense. You're the captain of your own ship, and you understand what works best for you. So I think that's kind of the bottom line, is to just be comfortable doing whatever works for you, and be okay saying that, and be like, oh, this is whatever, you do your thing, this works for me, and it's fine. Like you don't need to sway other people, and they don't need to sway you. It's just like,
I 100% agree. I kind of think of balance as like a pie chart. Like most people will look at balance as like the scales, the seesaw, and like you have to have it 50-50, but it's like, no, that balance doesn't work for everyone. Like it might be that you've got 15 to 20% friends and family time, like 15 to 20% training and whatever else. Like break it down how you need to and just make it work for you. Like that's how it's got to be.
See, and I totally agree with that. Sorry?
Are you a surfer?
Not really. No, I would say no.
I see the photo in the background, and I wasn't sure if it was you or.
Oh, surfing.
Oh, no, it's just probably like a stock photo. I don't know. It's here when I moved in. I just never took it down. It looks nice. You're the first person to ever ask about it, actually. So.
Sorry, you were actually saying something important before I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say on the pie chart topic, like I think that's super accurate, and I would challenge people to try to look at their time that way, because you don't have an unlimited amount of time or energy in a day. So, and it's sort of dynamic. So depending on the time of year or like whatever, maybe you have like a 5-year goal, and depending on where you lie in that scheme, you might have to change what your distribution is. So like, let's say for me personally, around the CrossFit regionals or games time, my pie chart might be like 50% of my time, or 60 or 70 is consumed with CrossFit. And then I have like 20% for school and like 10% for my like family and friends, which just sucks.
Yeah.
But then like right after the games, I might have to put my family friends time up to like 40%, and my school up to like 40% or 50, and my CrossFit's down to like 10. Because it's it doesn't matter. And then like maybe early in the school year, like September, October, November, my school's got to take up more space. CrossFit takes up less space. Like social life's got to stay up a little bit. And then you just sort of have to periodize your time and be okay changing it over time. Like you don't necessarily have to hold the same schedule every day from the year. Like you can redistribute your time as you see fit according to what you need at that time. And I think that's super duper important, particularly because, I mean, something like school and CrossFit and those things take a lot of time and energy, people's jobs, everything like that. And I think one of the most important things is that your relationships can suffer if you don't give them time.
Yeah.
So like you can easily take it for granted in like what I'm doing that, okay, well, it's all about me because like I'm going to the regionals, I'm going to the games, like I'm trying to put all this work in, like, can't you see what I'm trying to do? Like, it's all about me, like sponsor support, everybody, like, look at me, help me. Like, and it's super, super selfish being an athlete at a high level. And it just like, that's the nature of the game. It just is that way. You have to be that way if you want to perform at a certain level. You're selfish with your time, you're selfish with your resources, and it's just reality. But at the end of the day, like maybe after the World Championships, after the games, like whatever it is in your sport, you need to take some time off of training anyways, or you should, in my opinion. And you need to like really try to give back and make sure that those people who support you all year and allow you to do what you can do feel that love and appreciation, because it's like I said, it can be super damaging over time if you don't and you take it for granted. So
you just shed some light on her saying that. You just shed some light saying that you're in a long distance relationship. Like, how do you find that when you got to train all day? Like, do you go home and you talk on Skype or on the phone each night? Like, how's that kind of work for you guys?
I'll talk. We tend to talk like once a day, or we'll like whatever, message each other here and there. Try to talk on the phone every few days. I'm admittedly I'm awful at that. Like I'm just, she like it fully carries the load in that regard, and like I love her for it, but I need to be better at that, and I'm aware of it. And it's unfortunate. Like we've been now long distance for like a little over a couple of years maybe. And so we are able to kind of get out and see each other every month and maybe a month and whatever, like around a month, say.
Yeah.
For 4 or 5 days, which is great, but I have to really try to, whether that's whatever, like if it's during the Open and I have to do some exercising, like I have to really try to make sure that I'm not spending too much time doing that, and I'm really trying to get some time in with her, and we go and go on a couple of date nights, do some things, because like I only have a limited time with her, and whatever, like with the other 3 weeks of the month, like I can work out till I'm blue in the face and it won't matter. So it is challenging for sure. And I mean, she's amazing and tolerant and patient with me, which is awesome. But it's been good. Like we've gone on a few trips, like generally after the regional, we'll go on a little trip, and like after the games, we'll go away. We went away before Christmas this year. Like it's nice to just try to take the opportunities when we can. It's been challenging because she's also in school and she's studying medicine.
Oh, cool.
So
smart couple.
She's got, but so scheduling is a nightmare though, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough to say like, okay, well, like I've got this week off. Like, what have you got? Like, I don't have that week off. Oh, okay. So we're always trying to juggle our schedules and make things work, and it's generally one of us is missing something or the other one is, and so it's been challenging, and it's going to get worse I think this year starting kind of in May, because
you start placement.
Yeah, exactly, like she's going to go into clerkship rotations, and it's going to be really, really challenging, and I start my internship rotations in May, so it's going to be interesting. But we would make it work. Like you just have to make the extra effort, and I obviously have to get a little better at it. So
I often find though that with long distance relationships, people get more quality time together when they are together. Like you were saying, you try and plan trips away, so you don't get lost in it every day. Yeah, like you're just kind of passing by in the house because you're both on your own schedule. You actually schedule good quality time together, which is really cool.
Yeah,
you certainly don't take each other for granted, and I mean, we joke that. Every time we see each other, it's like a holiday, right? Like we're on vacation. So we basically will put like school on hold, put training on hold, put things on hold, because it's like we only have these 3 days, and like let's maximize our time.
Yeah.
So it's funny, and then we don't really do like real life things together like normal couples would probably, right? So
we started our relationship like that. Like first 6 months was long distance, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you get to know each other faster.
Oh, because you're on the phone constantly. You actually have to make conversation. Like I feel like people get together and they're together, but they're not talking. They're just kind of being there together rather than actually like learning a lot about each other. And it's like you're forced to learn a lot more and talk a lot more, which is actually really cool.
Yeah, and like we went to school for years together before we moved apart. So we know each other fairly well, but it's like I said, it's definitely a challenge not being around. And I mean, after a period of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like it's hard on your relationship for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, fortunately there's things like Skype or FaceTime or whatever. You can get in touch if you ever need to.
Yeah.
And you're really, really pining for that person, you can definitely get in touch. So, but again, moral of the story is I need to be better at it. She's great. She does a great job. I tend to be the weak link in that chain, which is, like I said, I just need to improve on.
So you talked about come May, your schedule is going to change quite a lot. How do you feel that is it going to affect your training? Is it going to affect the season this year round? Like, do you have to move? Are you staying in one place? What's the deal with it all?
I won't have to move. It'll be a little bit different. I mean, I basically, since I've been competing at a high level in CrossFit, I've had this same schedule. So I know exactly how to manage it and how to get by on that, and it's fine. It's just basically going to be learning to organize my life around a new schedule. But it's not awful. Like our rotations are pretty easy. You have like, I think you work 3 days a week and you basically work like a 6-hour day or something like that.
Oh, sick.
So you're not bad. You'll either work the morning or like the evening. So even on days I work, I could train in the whatever the other side of the day was.
Okay, cool.
And then I would have the other 4 days of the week off. So I should have no problem putting training in. There is a lot of work to do outside of your clinic hours as well, like catching up on your paperwork, doing like case reports and learning outcomes and what have you. But it's not going to be the same, and it's going to be more predictable. Also, I get to manage my own schedule. Like I book patients if I want to go away and compete somewhere and I need an extra day, like I need the Monday off, just don't book any patients.
Yeah, that's cool. That works well.
I do have a little more control over my schedule, but you are responsible to meet a certain amount of numbers of patients that you see, and so I definitely have to make sure that I'm not slacking off and taking it for granted. So there's a few options we can work at various different clinics, and you treat different demographics kind of based on where you are, and some are busier than others. So I'm like toying with the idea of going to like a really, really busy clinic for one of my rotations so that I get a lot of my numbers done.
Yeah.
And then my other rotation I can do maybe at an easier or slower clinic with a supervising clinician that maybe I really want to work with.
Yeah.
And then I can do that'll be like a fun learning thing, but less stressful and busy, and I can get more training in. And I just have to decide, because it'll be basically one rotation will span. I start with first rotation right after regionals, like the Monday after regionals.
Wow.
And then I'll go, so that one will span the games and through to like November.
Yeah.
And then the second rotation will span the open and the regionals of the next year.
Okay.
So I have to decide if I want to do that fast and slow kind of clinic, which one do I want to be my busy rotation? Because you can't really take the open and regionals for granted anymore, and but you do want to train hard for the games. And anyway, there's a few things that I still have to figure out, like I said, but it's it'll be fun. I think it's going to be nice to change to a more practical education. I'm running out of gas on the studying, writing exams front.
Yeah, fair enough. This has been how many years now?
Like at this program, or like of total post-secondary?
Total post.
9.
That's insane.
That's intense.
Yeah. And so what sort of practitioner do you want to be? Like what sort of style do you want to roll with once you get out and you're in the real world, the work?
I think that's something that you kind of will I think your experience in your internship rotations will determine a lot of that. Yeah. It's hard to really know until you get your hands on patients and see a bunch of different pathologies and see what you like and what you don't like, deal with different kinds of people. But I would venture to guess that if I can maintain a certain degree of success in CrossFit for the next couple of years, I will likely be able to treat athletes fairly easily. I think that I could parlay some of my success in CrossFit into maybe a patient base wherever I end up moving. Because just in general, I mean, athletes seek out treatment from people who are athletes. I think they feel you understand what their position is and what their situation is. So I think that there's certainly an opportunity for me to do that. So if I really enjoy working with those people, then I would love to do that. I mean, I was treated by a chiro for most of my life in gymnastics and lacrosse and things like that, and I had a great experience with it. So it'd be nice to give back the experience that you had. But yeah, hopefully my patients are better at retention than I ever was, or better at paying, like listening to their
recommendations.
Their doctors. Yeah, I know. I certainly wasn't all the time.
And so, was it your experience with your chiropractor during your gymnastics career that led you to want to study this later on?
Yeah, I think I was always interested in working in a health field somewhere, like rehab or physical therapy or chiro or medicine. And I just sort of shopped around a little bit. And I had a really good chiro growing up, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I don't know, I just sort of like was one of the options I looked at. I applied, I got in, and I thought like, okay, cool. I had looked at studying medicine for a little while, wrote my exams for it and things. And I never even actually applied. I felt like I didn't want to hang out in hospitals, and it seemed like, and I just like, I don't know, it felt like it wasn't for me, but I feel like chiropractic being a more preventative kind of alternative care method, you get more people coming to see you who are really seeking your help and like not there because they have to be there. Yeah. They're there because they want to be there, and this is an option that they want to try. So it was like the want versus need aspect to it I liked a little bit. So anyway, so I thought that it would fit pretty well. And like I said, I mean, your personal experiences that you have definitely play a huge role.
It's kind of like coaching someone in CrossFit compared to coaching someone in a Globo gym. Like from my experiences as a PT in the Globo gym, people came just because they had to be there. And then at CrossFit, like people want to be there, excited to learn. They want to hear like, how do I improve this? Like,
so motivated.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a different atmosphere, right? And that's kind of what I thought as well. It's like, why would you not want to work in like a more cheery environment as opposed to a depressive kind of one? Not to say that all hospitals are depressive, but
get the Vellner experience, eh?
Well, I can fully relate to that.
The rubs by Vellner.
Okay, not the rubs. I don't relate to that part. I was just gonna say studying nutrition at uni, and then when I did my placement in the 3 different locations, there was, being in the food industry, and then there was hospitals, and then there was like private sector. And I felt the same way as you. I didn't really enjoy that hospital environment, and being around people that have got themselves to a stage where they don't want to help themselves. So it's cool to hear that it resonates with you too.
It's definitely tough. And I mean, I can appreciate that those are arguably the people who need the most help, right? So it is certainly, it's a tough balance, but again, I don't know. I just kind of felt like I didn't want to work in that environment. And so this option lended itself more to an atmosphere that I wanted. So
yeah, definitely.
I went for that.
So going back to your gymnastics experiences, I work with Tom Picture, who is actually, he was like the Australian Olympic shadow of the London Games. And pretty much he's told us a whole heap of different experiences. But first of all, like your body type compared to his body type, he stands like 5 foot. He's got sewing pins for needle off a leg. Sorry, like he's small, he's skinny, and like you're pretty tall, right? What do you stand? 6 foot?
Just shy. I'm about 5'11" on a good day, I'd say. Maybe a little under. Maybe like 5'10" and a half if I'm.
You pulled it off well at the Invitational then. Yeah, when we were standing next to you at the after party, you didn't really.
You look tall.
Yeah, I noticed that you were short. But...
So I mean, for your body type, like it's a bit different, right? Like going into gymnastics.
Yeah, long.
Was that your long?
Very long.
Yeah. Things like iron cross.
Yeah, my levers are shit for rings. That's for sure. I was never any good at rings because of that. It was just so hard. I was like heavier, obviously by nature of being taller. Mm-hmm. I mean, the farther away those levers are when you go to do any strength maneuver, like it just makes it exponentially harder. So I always had a hard time on rings. I actually separated both my shoulders competing on rings like a couple times. So never loved the rings. We always had a bad relationship. But that being said, being long is actually super beneficial on some events. Like on the high bar, you can generate a ton of power because you're longer. Yeah. And you have a mechanical advantage. So I like a high bar was fun for that reason. There were certain things that it was certainly a disadvantage on. But I don't know, you work with what you have. So yeah. Couldn't do much about it.
Sorry. I was just going to ask, Tom would tell us stories about some of the things they would make him do as punishments. Yeah. Do you remember any of the things that they made you do?
For example, so he was with the Chinese coach up until he was 9, and he would do, if he was ever mucking up in class, they'd make them do 100 strict handstand push-ups. And after he was 9, he moved on to a Russian coach, and they'd make him do 10 strict rope climbs. Legless rope climbs. So,
we used to do a lot of legless rope climbs, but our roof was about want to say it was 20 meters.
Yeah.
25 meters, something like that. It was like really long.
Yeah, he said the same thing.
So we were like, it was a very high roof, and you'd have to just like, whatever, climb, no legs, like nice straddle, do like a bunch of them. But that was funny. Actually, a few people fell from the top before. It was scary. But we had, some stuff like that. I don't know. Generally, just like conditioning of some kind was an easy punishment because you need to do it anyways too.
Yeah.
So, lots of things like that. Whatever. Go do like 100 leg raises. Go do stair runs until you can't anymore. Go do like whatever. But it's either that or you'd have. I feel like we had a lot of stretching things too.
Yeah.
Where you'd have to like. I don't know. Your coach would just like stretch you in oversplits for like 5 minutes, or like throw a mat on top of you in a straddle sit and just like sit on you for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you started gymnastics?
I was young. I probably would have been like 8, 7, 8. Something like that.
So then, because the way you're talking about it, you're like, yeah, we did this stuff and it wasn't that big a deal, like, and we're like, holy fuck, like to us that's a lot of work. And I guess for
it's what you know though,
young,
right?
Yeah. It's all,
Again,
you grew up
so
with
you're
it.
kind of like, oh shit. Like they'll call you out and you're like, yeah, fuck, and you just go do it because that's what the punishment is, and you knew that before it happened.
Yeah.
So there was a precedent, and you knew that was the punishment, and then you did it anyway. So
I think it puts into perspective as well. Like a lot of CrossFitters will be like, God damn, I can't get a strict pull up, or I just can't get a handstand push up. And it's like, well, how much time are you actually putting into this? Is it something you're attacking every day or not? And it is probably like these skills are things that you can attack every day.
But I actually love having this argument with people over skills versus strength. And people love gymnastics background in CrossFit because it's easy for gymnasts apparently, and it's super. We already have the skills, and it's because we've been training for them for like 15 years, 20 years. Like, they don't just come out of thin air. First of all, and second of all, it's like I actually, when I started CrossFit, I probably could like back squat like 185 for like 5 reps, maybe something like that. Like super
kilos for the Aussies.
Yeah, so like really, really light comparatively to what I do now. But let's say someone like Matt, or like someone who comes from like a power, like football background comes in, like those guys can squat 500 pounds when they come in, walk in the door, no problem.
Yeah.
And I would rather have that than have a gymnastics background, because if you can already move the weight, you can already do like the Olympic weightlifting, you have that high power output. If you want to learn to do a handstand, like find someone who can do a handstand, ask them to give you tips and practice. But you can do a handstand every day of the week. You can do it at home, you can do it at the gym, you can do it in warm up, you can do it in cool down, you can do it anytime you want. If you can't do a handstand, it's because you don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, frankly, there's a lot of ways to learn it, and there's some barriers, like people who are scared to come upside down, but you can work through that stuff. And it doesn't take you a year to learn to do a handstand, say.
No.
But for me to like build from a 185 back squat to like a 405 back squat, like, guess how long that takes?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to take a long time, like a couple of years.
And impatience is terrible for that, because I can't just go in and back squat every day and think I'm like heavy and think I'm going to do anything. Like, you're just going to hurt yourself.
Exactly.
But like, if you can't like kip properly, like do that in warm up every day. Like it's not hard on your body. So like you can easily practice a lot of that stuff continuously. So I always have the argument, like, man, if you can't do skills, like, it's just because you don't want to do them.
Yeah.
Like, you can find someone who can coach you. You can learn, get some tips, and just practice. And you can practice every day, all day. And like, but you can't do that. The same doesn't hold for like, I can't try to, if I want to build a 600-pound deadlift from a 200-pound deadlift, I can't just like keep adding 10 pounds every day, or like a few kilos every day. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Man, the amount of times I've seen people do something like Smolov Junior program, like 3 weeks of intense squatting, they come out just absolutely jacked, like meaning jacked in their hips. They can't move properly. They're like
jacked
broken.
In a bad way.
Jacked in a bad way, not because they look ripped. But it's like, I think too many people try to partner it and try to get there too quickly. Like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do Go Mad Challenge, like gallon of milk a day, and I'm going to squat heavy every single day. And of course, nothing bad is going to happen. It's like, yeah, well, you're probably wrong.
Well, you always want a quick fix, right? Like I do. Like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
if I could add 200 pounds to my squat, or like, you know what I mean? Like, 100 kilos to my clean, like that'd be sweet, but it doesn't work that way.
It takes time.
Exactly. It'd be super beneficial.
But what I will say is that what gymnastics does have that some sports maybe don't, is that the discipline and the work ethic you develop from a very young age is, like, I would say second to almost no sport.
Yeah.
You're very used to training 25 to 30 hours a week, and that's just normal. You're totally used to that. You're used to being coached. You're used to taking cues, and you have really good awareness of your body. So when it comes to learning something new, like when I had to learn how to Olympic lift, it did not take me long to learn. Like when I had to learn to do a butterfly pull-up, like took me like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, how? Like this? Oh, okay, yeah, no, I got it. Cool.
Yeah.
And like positions and cleans and things, like tactical cues, like a coach says, like, oh, well, you need to do this, and you're like, oh, I understand what that means. I've been being coached that way since I was an infant, like, and so those things really do pay off, because if you can, one thing that's frustrating from an athlete and coach's perspective is when you try to coach someone and like they can't quite wrap their head around what you're saying, like, and you can't really come up with another way to put it, and you're kind of at this stalemate, and then you don't, like, nothing improves and you're stagnant. But if you have an athlete who just can understand what you're trying to say to them and then do it every time you want to make a correction, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So a sport like gymnastics, I think, lends itself to that kind of ability. So you end up with a very coachable athlete who's willing to put a lot of time in, and like that's kind of what it takes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that body awareness as well, like, is massive. Like, I see it in dancers as well. Whenever I get a dancer come into class and you're like, hey, just move this way, and they just click. They're like, okay, I know where my knees are. I know what my knee is compared to my elbow. Like, I know how to move. Like, yeah, it kind of changes things. I guess
definitely valuable.
I guess moving forward, so coming up, you're doing the Open with Olsen, and so I feel like that's going to be a pretty, I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but like a pretty heavy gymnastics type of workout. I think one of two things.
I would guess the same thing as you, actually.
Yeah.
And that's the second week of the Open?
Yeah.
So I would feel like it's either going to be a repeat of the last year's, which was the dumbbells, where we had the walking lunges, toaster bar, power clean, bar muscle up, or just something new that's going to be very gymnastic-y. Any predictions?
I hope something new. I don't really like doing repeats, honestly.
100%.
It's sort of like part of why I enjoy CrossFit is that you get to do something different all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I understand the value of a test retest, but like, I don't know. I think it's boring.
Yeah, I agree.
Frankly, I'd rather not. Been there, done that. But that said, if they did that workout, I beat him in that workout last year, and it might be the only one in the Open that I did. Maybe actually week 1 and 2 might be the only workouts that I beat him in last year's Open. So he's great in the Open every year, so he'll be a good challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's definitely a different atmosphere in the Open announcement too, when you have no time to prepare and you got to do it once, and it's a heads up competition, like with a bunch of people there. So the atmosphere is a little bit crazy, and we'll see how it goes. But it'll be fun. I mean, if it's gymnastics stuff, it's fine. I'm maybe a little heavier than I need to be right now, but I'll get that sorted in the next couple of weeks, maybe.
And are you generally a one and done, or will you give it a few cracks each week?
I usually try to be, but with an Open announcement, I think you have to go into it expecting to do it twice.
Yeah,
because they don't like it, it's not made for you to be successful. It's made for to put on a good show, right?
Yeah.
It's made for the fans, the spectacle. So, I mean, even like little simple things like transition distances or whatever, like it's not made for you to maximize your score. So certain workouts is obviously a bigger advantage or disadvantage than others, but I think you have to kind of go into it thinking that you're going to redo it, and then whatever, if you don't end up, then great. I think last year I redid twice. I redid the one that I did the announcement for, and then I redid the second one, that muscle up total bar one, because I thought I might be able to win it, but I ended up in second.
So close. So just before we hopped on the call with you, we were watching the trailer for the new movie Redeemed and the Dominant. It looks pretty intense. Like, I was getting emotional just watching the trailer. Have you seen the whole movie?
Doing a good job. I have seen the whole movie, actually. While I was out in Santa Cruz at HQ, they did a screening with me and the media team.
That's sick. That's really cool. I thought you might have.
It's great. I mean, people will enjoy it, I think. it's a really, really good show.
Well, I dived straight into the controversial stuff. Like, I wasn't expecting to even see Ricky in the trailer. So is he featured quite heavily?
They totally deal with that during the documentary. It doesn't get hidden at all. Like they tackle it right away. So, I mean, yeah, good for them. I mean, I think you have to.
Yeah,
it's not,
you can't just hide it.
Yeah, 100%.
I think
so they did a very good job. I think.
Yeah, I'm really pumped to see it. Something that, well, I guess coming from our side, like we came and watched you guys at the Invitationals. And for us, standing in the crowd at the end when they're doing the Q&A and to see them award you the medal and like for you to get the standing ovation and stuff like that was like a heartstring moment, I think, for a lot of like the CrossFitters that were there, and I feel like possibly even yourself maybe. Like obviously the whole situation is pretty messed up. What's your look back on it now? Like, how do you reflect on the whole situation now? Like, okay, he was caught and I was awarded. Sorry, hit you in the head. Awarded like third fittest in the world now. Like, how do you look back on it all?
Well, partly I want to not be in that position again. Like, let's just finish on the podium next year, and then it's not an issue. But I think that, like, partly it gets disappointing is the main thing. Like, it's disappointing that happens. I understand that stuff happens in sports, of course, but I think that it puts a lot of the other athletes under fire, and it challenges the integrity of the sport and everybody who's involved in it.
Yeah.
Which hurts. Like, to have people, I mean, whatever, like, on all social media and whatever, like, all the CrossFit Games athletes are on drugs now, and like, it's just, there's this huge scandal and cover up and conspiracy, and there's people challenging your integrity, complete strangers who don't know you. And it, like, whatever, you can try to brush that off, but like, it kind of cuts a little bit, and you're like, dude, fuck you. Like, you don't know anything about me. Like, and then, so it hurts to have that sort of backlash.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the whole scenario, I mean, that's the best case scenario. What happened? Yeah. Like, the alternative is that he doesn't get caught and continues to cheat for the next couple years or longer, right? So, I mean, given the circumstance, like, that's the best outcome you could ask for. But it is unfortunate, and it sort of like casts a shadow on a lot of different athletes and different people who don't deserve that. And so it's unfortunate the way it affects a lot of other people. So it's sort of an act that, like, okay, like, it's not because he gets caught and he gets stripped. Like, that's not over. It's not, like, solved.
Yeah.
There's a lot more damage that was done outside of that. So I think that's sort of an unfortunate thing. And like I said, it's been dealt with as good as it could be, but there's just still always going to be that shadow on stuff now and whatever. Like, I mean, it's good that people are getting caught like that. And I mean, some of the regionals athletes that got busted this year, like, I mean, I'm glad that there's more steps being taken, and it's being taken very seriously. But yeah, I'd say it's just like kind of, it's sad. Like, it's unfortunate to see that stuff happen. And like I said, I mean, like, I was affected directly, but so are all the athletes. Like, I mean, anyone who finished ahead or behind, like, you're all, like, if you beat them, then you're on drugs. If you're behind them, you're on drugs. And like, it doesn't matter. Like, so I think it was very hard on the population of athletes. And I think that's what was kind of cool about the Invitational when they addressed that is, on that competition floor, like, there's at least half of the athletes on that competition floor have podiumed at the CrossFit Games. So I think you definitely, in that regard, you're in good company, and you're in kind of a group of peers who understand what the value is of that and what the hard work it takes to attain that is. So it was kind of cool, like, to have that, and like I said, it was a good nod, and I think that was a super cool to have the standing ovation, especially in Australia.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, it almost seemed like the crowd felt like they owed it to you, which was cool as well. And not that it was directed at them individually, the whole situation, but it's almost like they feel bad. Exactly, to let down for Australia, because it's.
And you know what? Like, I had a lot of people reach out afterwards from Australia and say, like, hey, like, that's messed up. We're really sorry about that. Like, that's not what we're about. And and that's awesome. And like I said, that experience at the Invitational, just kind of speaks to the caliber of people that live there, and the sport culture in Australia is massive, and it just shows that people are they want fair play. And I mean, people were ecstatic to have the Australians do so great, but then to have something like that happen and say, hey, like, if this wasn't by the rules, then we don't want any part of it. And it was cool. It was cool to see that the reaction was that way. And like, hey, like, we love sport, but like, let's keep it clean and keep it
exactly
real. So
and let's all have a shoey together.
Well,
and we're
I was
all
going to say, was that your first experience of a shoey?
Awesome. When Rob did that, I was like, you beauty.
When Tia did it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But like, no one would have done it if Rob didn't do it first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I love that guy.
I've heard him since say like he planned to do it, so that's good. It worked out well.
Oh, it was good that they were great too, so they deserved to win for sure. We talked about it a bit afterwards, and we were like, you know what, we made a couple little mistakes, but I think even had we cleaned it up, like, they were the best team on the floor. So they were. It was awesome, cool to have the home crowd win, and that was sweet.
And I think, hearing them chat to each other, they were saying that they'd figured out a way to kind of talk to each other without even, like they were telepathically communicating. Like, how can you beat that?
Yeah, I think that they had like the extra week beforehand to train together, and that definitely helps. But whereas like I think our team, one of us lives in the States, the other one lives on like the west coast. I live on the east side, and then Caroline's like northeast. So none of us even live within like probably like 2 hours by plane would be maybe the closest.
Wow.
That's insane. So for
Classic North America.
Yeah, exactly. So for you, like you travel a lot just to be able to compete in the sport and be able to do the events that are going on. What do you do to kind of keep your body like in shape while you travel?
Exercise mostly. I don't have any tricks for like, I'm not wearing like diabetic socks or anything on the flight to make my lymphatic system is better or anything. Like, I don't know. I travel and it sucks. Sometimes you get jet lagged. Sometimes it's not as bad. I'll usually try to move a little bit on a travel day, whether it's before or after I fly, just because if you're going to be sitting for a long period of time, it's just nice to move around. And I tend to, probably like most people, if I'm traveling, I'm probably not eating as good as I should be. And so it's just like, the more I can try to get a little bit of moving around in, the better. But, you have to be a bit careful. Like, as much as I like to train to feel better on those days, you have to be a bit careful what you choose to do, because doing high impact, if you're going to be sitting for 5, 6, 7 hours beforehand, it's maybe not the best idea, or at least like not to start with that. You need to do something else before. It depends. It's generally, it's hard on me. Like, I actually try to travel as little as I can. I've done more this year than I have in the past. But I think kind of after that open announcement, I will probably not travel again until the regionals. And it's just, it's hard. Again, like, I'm balancing trying to like travel back out west and see my girlfriend and do some things in CrossFit and not pass up to these cool opportunities that CrossFit has provided because I have to be at school all the time or whatever. Like, I'm really trying to take advantage of things, but it's wearing. Like, it's hard. I mean, we'll be like bombing overseas for like 3 or 4 days and then coming back and then trying to like write an exam the next day. And so it definitely wears you out a bit, and you have to be a bit careful. But I think to me, it's kind of, it's part of the whole deal. Like, I don't know, it's fun. Like, I get to do that stuff. It's sort of a privilege at the same time. Like, it's not. I sometimes have to remind myself that, or I definitely have a good group of friends who remind me of that. And if I start complaining too loudly, they'll be like, "Hey, shut up."
So, has there been anything you had to let go that you couldn't go and experience and do?
As far as like competitions or things?
Yeah, like competitions or something that CrossFit that's giving you.
Oh, plenty.
Yeah.
Like, I had a competition I was supposed to go to, won a qualifier, like all expenses paid to Barcelona. Couldn't go do that because of school. Couldn't go do the Bahamas trip with Reebok this year because of exams. Couldn't do Dubai or anything like that because of exams. Couldn't do I had a photo shoot for the Nano 8 in New York that I couldn't do because of exams. Like all the time. Yeah. Like, probably like once or twice a month.
Yeah. Fun.
So it's but I also get to do awesome stuff, and it's not like this is the career I've chosen. Like, school is super important to me, and I think that it's valuable for me to make sure that I do that stuff. And I mean, if at the end of the day I have to miss one trip, whatever, it's fine.
Same priorities.
Yeah, it's sort of like you have to figure out where those things fit in your priorities. And it's, yeah, like I said, it's easy to be like, oh shit, I could have been in Iceland right now, but I'm writing this test. But you know what, like, it's fine. This also is a fairly transient thing, and I don't see like competing in CrossFit being more than a blip in my life. Like, I think in 10 years, I'm not going to be traveling around doing CrossFit anymore. You know, like it's sort of, I like to try to take as much advantage as I can now, because I know it's not going to be forever.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, you want to give it your best shot and get what you can out of it, but at the same time, you need to set yourself up for those other 50 years that you have to deal with.
How about in regards to, like, obviously not getting to do those things? It might also be like possibly a good thing because of how many times you have to compete a year. Like, do you limit how many times you compete a year, or are you more like get out and experience it because that's where you get like the best, I guess, experience from?
I don't know. I don't compete a lot in the year outside of the game season. I generally will pick like let's say 4 events a year that I might do, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I usually will try to do them, like this last year I did like 2 in September, like kind of not too long after the games.
Uh-huh.
But because when I go back to school, I need to work ahead and be very focused on school, because come open and regionals, like I have to focus more on CrossFit. So I need to give more time to school early in the year, or I guess, sorry, like late in the year, as opposed to early in the year when it's time to compete again. I need to maybe spend more time training and doing that. So if I have to take a hit on an exam because I was a little less prepared because I was training a bunch, it's fine, because I built myself a huge buffer in October.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you're all over. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it sounds like you're all over your routine and understanding what you need to be doing when. But then you also live in a share house. Is that correct?
Yeah, I live with 3 roommates, all who go to my school. Like all guys that are in my year, pretty much.
Cool. And so, like, are they party type people? Do you find it a challenge when you're trying to like study or do things you need to do?
I'd say they are, and that's fine. Like, I'll go out and have a beer with them too every now and then. Like, whatever, it's fine. Like, you have to live, and I think that's great, because it gives me, like, if I live by myself, say, I maybe wouldn't get out as much, but by virtue of living with people who want to and do that, like, you'll get pulled along with them. So I get to go live a little more than I maybe would otherwise, which is great, because you just need that to keep yourself sane.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. I mean, they're all like, we're all in the same professional school, right? So people are, when it's time to study, when it's time to work, like, people get to work and they don't fool around, right? So it's nice. It's same thing. Like, my roommates all have pretty good balance, I think, in their lives as well. Like, they're down to go have a good time, down to do whatever, but everyone's doing kind of continuing education courses on the weekend, or when it's exam time or we have lots of assignments, like, everyone bears down and we'll help each other out and we'll try to whatever. Like, we all want to be successful. We all want to see each other be successful. So it's nice. It's actually a pretty good environment, because when things get heavy, like, everyone's there to help you out, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it sounds like a good dynamic. How about, like, when you're training at school, as you'd call it, hashtag CrossFit school, do you get, like, some pretty weird looks and stuff? Or is it all, like, people kind of know that you're who you are and stuff? Or how's it work?
Yeah, I think people know who I am now, but it's, I don't know. I actually try to not do anything too crazy there. Like, generally, if I have, say, like 2 sessions or something like that, I'll try to do 1 at school and 1 away.
Yeah.
But I'll only ever do at school, like, things that won't take up a lot of space. Like, if I need a lot of equipment, I'll just do that at the gym, because I have the space.
Yeah.
Because you're generally a little more limited at school. There might be people just wandering by who aren't really paying attention, and so you've got to be a little more on your toes. But I can do intervals on the rower, like, I can do weightlifting, I can do, like, my squatting or whatever, things like that there. So that's generally what I'll do. So yeah, it's fine. Like,
does anyone else dabble in weightlifting?
Like, lazy. Yeah, a few people do, and a few of my friends at school are, like, doing a little bit of CrossFit now too. So
that's cool.
It's fun. Like, I think one of my friends did 16.5 today at the school gym. Just tortured himself. He just went on a ski trip too, and he was like, I need to pay some penance.
Oh, Jesus.
Talking about punishment.
Rough wake up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll start to wind down because we know that it's late for you right now.
Sure.
But so, what's the coolest thing that you've learned recently that you want to share with the listeners?
Ooh. The coolest thing that I've learned recently.
In any topic.
In
anything. Something you were like, fuck, that's awesome. I want to tell everyone about this thing.
I'm trying to think if I read any good research that's relevant. I don't know. I was just watching the Olympics and I saw that a bunch of the Russian athletes applied to be allowed to compete. They had their sanction lifted, and like 45 of them got denied just like yesterday.
Whoa.
So, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's a bunch of them competing under the Olympic flag as the Olympic athletes from Russia.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's kind of cool still.
Yeah.
Have you seen Icarus?
I have, yeah.
It's pretty badass, right? Like that whole thing.
It's a documentary for the listeners.
The best part about it is that the guy who made it was like not trying to make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he like accidentally stumbled on this whole thing and was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
So it's a great documentary, though.
Yeah, I loved it. It was good. And so I guess last
many people have cited it. Many people have cited it for the reason why all of us are on drugs. Like, well, everyone's on drugs. Have you seen Icarus?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I've seen it. Jesus. So I'm familiar.
And are you much of a reader outside of school? Like, do you have a favorite book or anything like that?
I've been reading a ton lately, actually. I used to not during school. I'd eat through like 9 books in the summer, and then as soon as school started, I would not read anymore because I'd feel guilty if I was reading like pleasure reading during the school year.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, you have work to do. Like, just if you're gonna be reading, like, read your notes, read your this, read your that. Like, you have stuff that you should be doing. And I recently stopped caring and just like figure like screw it, I'm gonna just read on my own time. Especially when I'm traveling a lot, it's nice. And I don't like watch as many movies on the planes or things like that, and I can just like read a book. But I just read, where are they? I just read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series.
Oh, cool.
And I loved it. It was awesome. I've been meaning to read it forever, and I know some people read one of them in school, like years and years and years ago, like in high school or something. But the reading style is just awesome, and it's super easy to read. Like, you can read one of those full books in like 2 days, no problem. So those were really fun. So I had a lot of I had a lot of fun reading them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's nice. You need that every now and then.
Yeah.
There's nothing like when you put down a book or like an audio or something, and you're just like, I just want to listen to that again. Like, I want to make time to do that again.
Yeah. You're like kind of sad that it's over.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at our questions. I feel like this is going to launch into something massive. Do you want to go there?
Yeah, of course. Are you trying, like, are you going for the fittest on earth? Is that the goal?
Can you beat, he's written here, can you beat Matt?
Yeah.
That's what he's written.
Can I beat Matt? I don't know. It'll depend what he's been doing, and I think that he's certainly proven that he's a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely changed some things this year that I'm trying to be better at, and I think in general one of the big ones for me is just being confident attacking workouts and leading from the front of the workout, like not trying to chase all the time.
Yeah.
Because I have a bad habit of just like I'm good at figuring out who's going to be good on workouts, and then I like pace off them. So then I'll whatever, like maybe I'll finish like second or third or something like that.
Yeah.
But I generally don't come out hard and win workouts and lead workouts because I like it's like it makes me nervous. I'll like come out and be like, fuck, why is everyone going slower? Like, they know something I don't know, kind of thing. But so I'm getting a little better at that and trying to be confident attacking workouts, and that's what you need to do if you're going to try to beat Matt, because he's going to win workouts, and when he doesn't, he's still going to finish pretty high. So I think to beat him now, well, you probably need some help from the field too. Like, I don't think now I could just like beat him alone.
Yeah.
I think that you need if he slips and stumbles and if he has a bad finish, you need people to capitalize and like push him down the leaderboard, right? Because if you beat him and he finishes second, it doesn't do you much good. So you just have to try to learn to play the game the way he plays it. Like, he's become very good at finishing top 5 in like everything.
Yeah.
And that's really, really hard to beat. So Anyway, like that's what we're working on. I mean, it's nice to. I'm sad to not have him in my regional this year to compete against earlier in the season, but that said, it's a good opportunity for me to try to lead and try to win. So that's how I'm looking at it, and I'm going to try to go and see if I can dominate a regional. And then if I can do that, then there's no reason that I can't push some people around at the games again next year, and it should be good.
Yeah, that's cool. That's super cool.
Cool. You probably heard us ask these questions to Michelle on her podcast, but we're going to ask you too, because we like to ask everyone. What is your biggest drive? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I think just like a motivation to just try to be better than you were, or to strive towards like whatever goals you set. I think there's something awesome about self-improvement, and just to try to be a little bit better at something every day is such a simple thing, but like also such a massive thing that I think it's huge. So I think every day, if you can try to learn something new or be a little better than you were the day before, is an easy way to help you put your feet on the ground in the morning.
That's cool. Do you actively reflect on that? Do you have any practices around it, or is it more just like an acknowledgement that you have like mentally to yourself?
I'll think about it occasionally at night if I'm home and not like going straight to sleep. But I think it's more just like maybe not even a daily reflection, but like every now and then, just to say like, hey, like what have you been striving towards? Like, are you on the right track?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. So on the back end of that is, what is your biggest fear?
Probably like inadequacy, just like not being good enough at something.
Yeah.
Like even as simple as like, I don't know, like someone asks you something and you don't know. Like let's say like in the future, like I'm treating a patient and I can't figure out what's wrong with them. Like that's like a scary thought. Or like, so those sort of things, whatever you're doing as a job or a hobby or whatever, that you value, and then you're not good enough, or you come up short in something that means a lot to you, I think it's a scary thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's very, very close to actually how I respond as well to both those questions, which is awesome. Are you competing tomorrow? What's the event you put up for tomorrow? You said get out and support a good cause.
Oh, it's actually like, so it's called CrossFit for Heart. It's just an event that my gym puts on every year. And I think it's a charity event, and the proceeds go to, I believe, the Heart and Stroke Foundation. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's just sort of it's not a competition really. It's just a fun event. They'll come out, everyone from the gym will come. They'll do food drive donations, and they'll be a raffle as well. I think sponsors bring in stuff, and we do a raffle for various different things. One of them, actually, the reason that photo is there is because one of them was to win a date with me. So then, so we get a bunch of people out, and they'll maybe build together like 4 or 5 small AMRAPs, like quick AMRAPs with like a little break between them. That's going to be like high aerobic heart rate stuff, and then push everybody through it, and everyone will get a good sweat on, and then we'll probably have like a potluck or something afterwards. Yeah, so it's just kind of a fun event, gets the community out and together doing something.
That's awesome. By the time this airs, that event will have already happened. But if you're wondering what photo the boys are talking about, you have to go back to the 9th of February to see Pat's photos.
Yeah.
Or 8th of February.
It's a good one. It's worth the look. It's worth the Instagram creep.
Exactly. Well, on that note, where can people find you? What is your Instagram handle?
So my Instagram is just at @pvellner, just PVELLNER, like my name. And then I think my my Twitter is like @PatVellner. And I have an athlete.
Twitter's not a massive thing in Australia.
Yeah, but anyone who's listening in America.
And then I have an athlete page on Facebook as well. That's just Patrick Vellner.
Do you manage that yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. We'll put those in our show notes so that people can...
Yeah, for sure. We'll link it all up. Dude, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Hey, no worries.
Have a good night.
It's awesome. It's been good. Yeah, thanks very much. I'm probably going to go eat another dinner.
Yeah, finish your dinner.
All right.
Thanks,
guys. Cheers.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thanks so much, dude.
We'll let you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, take care.
Yeah, we'll link you and everything. It won't come out for a few weeks, but yeah, we'll link you and everything when it does come out. And yeah, all the best of the season, dude.
Sounds good. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
All right, see ya.
Thanks. Take care.